All right, guys, my name is Dr. Sharnael Wolverton Sehan. I am so very, very excited to have this episode. This is going to be a fun treat. You guys know how much I absolutely love frequency and sound. Bianca and I have done, I think, 6 or 7 episodes on a lot of different things, frequency, a lot of different things, fun things. And just here recently, I was at the Conscious Life Expo in LA a few weeks ago, and we got to talk about a lot of things in real life and met up a lot of different people, including some people that I am going to introduce new to you guys, maybe on the show, maybe not new to you, but new to our show anyway. Some great guests. I have several of their books, so I think probably maybe a lot of you are very familiar with their work. But before we get started, I just want to remind everybody we are here every Thursday at noon Central, and we have a lot of really cool episodes coming up. So I hope you will hit that like, hit that share. What we do is for out of love and out of purpose, and it's not always financial, but sometimes sharing things can be a way that you can help not only get the word out, but there's a lot of people going through a lot of different things right now on the planet. And things like this, I hope, would bring a lot of encouragement, a lot of ideas, a lot of inspiration on ways that people can utilize some of the things that we are going to present here today for them, for you, for anyone watching, to really incorporate your own power, your own story, your own script, your own healing, your own desires, your own creativity. So please do hit that share, hit the like. And I also want to remind everybody, April 6th, we have a live workshop that I will put all the information on here below. We're going to do some on purpose, in purpose live demos on outcome mapping and creating. I did it at the expo in LA with a group of about 150, maybe 200 people. And I've already had 36 different testimonies of people who had instant and or pretty instant miracles that came as a result from that workshop. So we're going to do it again. And we're going to do it live, so you don't even have to fly somewhere and get there. So without further ado, of course, you know Bianca, but I'm going to let her introduce herself a little bit in case you guys aren't familiar with her. And then we'll go on and we're going to talk to Dr. JJ and Desiree, who are here with us. And they're going to share a little bit about their story and their part in this sound healing situation. So Bianca, go for it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sharnael, and hello, everyone. I'm again very excited, very pleased to be here in honor. I feel like this is just part of what I'm supposed to be doing, being of service, learning from some great people here, right here. And I'm kind of fangirling right now. So I'll talk a little bit about me, but I think we would want to focus on these two right here, our guests, or our new friends. So I also did just meet them at the Conscious Life Expo, and it's just amazing how this has been going on for many years, and they're experts. Okay, and I feel like I'm just learning as much as I can, and it's just such a blessing that we have all these teachers here, accessible. They're talking to us in real life. And we can get this information word for word, literally passing down. And I'm so excited to be here, not as a speaker, but as a student. And but I do share frequencies. I live stream. I would say daily on multiple platforms. I talk about how frequencies help align your physical body through the energetics, through the magnetism, different sacred geometries. We talk about color, light, smell. All of it. Consciousness is all, and it's all one. So just, putting it all together. So thank you for having me. And I'm, again, very blessed to be here. So yeah, that's it. That's it for me.
Awesome. All right. And without further ado, I know a bit about you guys, and actually was going to do the cruise that you guys were just at, but then some things happened and I wasn't able to make it. But please do tell us a little bit about you, how you got into this space, and let's just do this.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you. And also Bianca and her new book on the pineal gland. That's outstanding work, Bianca. You may recognize Desiree and I, Dr. JJ and Dr. Desiree. We are with the Academy for Future Science. I am author of this book, which is really considered to be the Bible of New Age work, The Keys of Enoch. Bruce Lipton considers it his private scientific Bible, but this goes back some 50 years ago when I was a young musicologist, social scientist with the Disney Corporation called California Institute of the Arts. I was doing prayer and meditation using music harmonics, and suddenly the energy field changed. A morphogenic field opened, a tremendous light took place, an angelic face appeared before me, and of course, the rest is history. I was taken into another dimension. And Desiree, who was my student at the time, of course, can fill in the other part of the story. But we're sitting here before this majestic art piece by the French artist Jean-Marie Schiff, which represents the eye of the future, but also the soundscape that goes with the spiritual third eye or the pineal gland, seeing future civilization, seeing all of the sacred geometries and the harmonics that are built really into our pineal gland when it's activated.
But we're also here because we have a book called Sound, which is actually, we did the first part and the last part. And other people you may know, like Stephen Halpern and other associates, Beth Green, I highly recommend, all contributed to this. Bianca, you should have done it as well. And we do want to hear from you as well in terms of sound. And the reason why is because we do feel, I think we all feel here, that sound is a way of literally transforming who we are and our health and our higher consciousness. So if you have, this is what was known by the Eastern philosophers, and we often use sounds like the Om or the Om Mani Padme Hum. These are all vibrations that are there to energize. We also use Egyptian. We've used Chinese like Kuan Yin, and we also use some Hebrew and Greek expressions, because when you're in a state of meditation, we truly believe that literally your body is taking the time out to heal itself. Now, they tell you to rest, to sleep. Doctor, I'm sure you tell people all the time, get some good rest. You know, it's like a major thing because we need that to heal our bodies. But ultimately, so we feel sound is critical for the body, the mind, but also the soul. We'll be talking about that more.
That's awesome. Yeah, so we do biofeedback here, and we can also do it remote. And that doesn't just do diagnostics, but it actually customizes frequencies to send to the people, which does have a sound. Even our voice has a sound. We use Evox, where we can hear people's voice and we can find out what's going on, what's missing, what needs to be strengthened, what may be a little bit lower or higher. We have different things that we utilize, like we have a sound bed where you literally just lay on it and different frequencies can come up through the bed and vibrate with the body and help harmonize the body into different things. But I know that when we were talking, you talked a lot about sacred geometry, which I'm a big geek about, and you talked specifically about pyramids. Can you tell us a little bit about how sacred geometry and pyramids work with our frequency, with our biofield, with our whole, like our aura, and how that works?
Well, let me start really with the understanding of cymatics. And some of you might already know about it. It's in our book, so I'm just about to find that page. It shows basically that sound is geometry and geometry is sound. So anytime you say something or listen to music, it's creating a type of geometry. And the way they did this is they've used magnetic filings, and you have the sound frequencies on it, and they actually create these new geometries, or you can do it with water. And Bianca, come on, tell us, is this something you've particularly done?
This is actually the Cymoscope app that's based off of Dr. Stuart Reed's actual Cymoscope. I'm not sure if it's still available, but I share this almost every day along with the Cladme app and a Cladme plate, just demonstrating the effects, not necessarily pointing exactly, hey, this is this structure, but the point is it's affecting us and it's changing our very formation. Our breath is changing our formation. And so I'm so excited that Like, I almost feel like I went into got into all of the rife, more current technologies. But now coming back to, I practice with the styrofoam dome. I encourage people this is a really inexpensive way to round out the sounds, enhances the frequencies. And it's very simple, but it's things that you're finding out when you're out there going to all these sites, the stuff that I'm reading in books, and you're out there experiencing it. But that's what I've been able to do is take things that are out there and bring it to a pretty large audience that may not really know or want to know about this. But they're interested enough to watch,
You do a great job. And actually, Dr. Masao Emoto from Hato Institute was a good friend of ours. We actually sponsored his lecture in New York at one time when he first came over for his very first lecture, us and our associate Alan Steinfeld. In actuality, he also showed the power of sound. So oftentimes you would have water there, and then you could either just put thoughts of peace there, or you can put certain types of music. And he likes some of the classical music. Konstantin Karakov does too. And he feels that actually changed the shape of the water. So when he froze it, some of you are familiar with this, and then you looked at it, it was a sacred geometry. Now, going one step further, I'm going to turn it over to my husband, because we actually have taken these sound frequencies into places like the Great Pyramid or certain pyramids in Mexico.
Well, first of all, let's understand that our body and mind is the temple of divine spirit. It's been said in the ancient sacred literature, whether it's the Sutra text of Tibet or China, or the Hebrew Aramaic text of the ancient Near East, which is the basis of our Bible. And our research has covered 50 years of research recognizing that there's a Bible within a Bible. We're just beginning to understand the vastness of sacred geometry. And I'm going to show you a remarkable picture going back a little more than 20 years ago when we were in Egypt. And I was using sacred Hebrew Aramaic expressions, the names of God. And at that time, I was a very gifted singer. And as I was intoning these tones, the volume was augmented by the geometry, the sacred geometry of the ascending passage, what we call the Grand Gallery, that leads to the King's Chamber. And suddenly the energies became so powerful that standing columnar waves, you'll see this in the middle of the picture there, my wife is holding up, moved up and down the ascending chamber. And a light energy field lit up the whole entire interior of the Great Pyramid with golden light for a few seconds. Egyptian authorities were with us at the time, and they were taken back. They said this is the first time in thousands of years that the pyramid lit up through their knowledge inside. Now, this is just one experience I had because of my contact with the angelic scientist we call Enoch in the biblical mystical tradition. He gave me the musical keys and insights that I would use to go to sacred chambers around the world to initiate them for the coming of the cosmic intelligence, which is now taking place. We're going into a remarkable period of ascension work. Scientists working behind the scenes in Europe, also in Washington, also in Japan, are preparing people to make a consciousness shift into the fifth dimension. So we will recognize that we have musical counterparts. In short, the whole history of sacred knowledge was based upon sacred vibration, acoustical physics. And we were able to work with the Berlin Philharmonic. Stephen Halpern, the father of New Age music in the United States, was my student. Carlos Santana, the great musical expert, again, New Age movements using sacred language, all refer to the Enochian keys, which are musical keys to opening our body into the sacredness of life, preparing for what I would call contact with the higher dimensions.
And just to add one more point here, we've actually taken computers inside the King's Chamber and computers inside other chambers in Mexico. We've done some official reports on this. And to get what's called a pink noise or a white noise sweep, where you get several frequencies. And what we've determined is not only is there overtones, so sometimes when you go into these chambers, you get these kind of overtones, as many have played with and arranged, but you also get undertones. It seems, we believe, that the King's Chambers actually, if you sing something, will also take the frequency down to an alpha hertz level, and alpha hertz is somewhere between 7.5 and 13. Now you can't hear that, but there's frequencies that can be picked up on computers that allow for that, and that means it puts you into a kind of meditative state. So we believe many of these sacred constructs all over the world, the pyramids mainly, are designed for frequencies. So I'll let you guys pick up on that, and we'll continue on.
So I was right with wearing these when I sing. And so it's basically like you're telling me that the pyramids are like an auto-tune. It's auto-tuning, it's amplifying, the sound became light. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is all just, this is the first I've heard. I know I didn't do as much research as I should have. But you guys, this is all the stuff that you're learning that people are incorporating. And I don't think we really fully understand like what that means, what you were able to do to take your voice and generate a powerful energy through the mechanism or through the device, which we call a pyramid, right?
Well, I love your hat. And the reason why is we've actually worked with a man named Jim De La Tosa, and he actually has created this thing called agrosonics. And he's been able to figure out what's the best sound to make plants grow. Now, what's interesting about that, it's not just a tone. What he's done is created this almost like a cavity, because he's almost mimicking sounds that you would hear from crickets, different types of insects, as well as birds. So, it's not just there's a whole frequency. I think that hat kind of gives you that kind of idea.
Yes. And speaking of cricket making frequencies, there's a really amazing video on YouTube with Jiminy Cricket and a top hat and an umbrella. And I don't want to go too much into the Tartarian conspiracy, but it's all related: frequency, levitation, telepathy, telekinesis, all of this through sound and the geometries. And I'm guessing the ley lines, the placement of what you're doing.
Well, one of the things that they found is that these sounds, the specific sounds connected with what we call nature, is able to activate the ATP in the plants to make them grow. So when you get rid of all the birds and the bees in these mono agricultural areas, then you actually have to throw in a lot of fertilizer because they don't get the sound. Sound is critical to making plants grow.
We describe this in our book. This is why it was number one on Amazon for acoustical physics. I had the opportunity to work with Marcel Vogel back in the 1970s, who worked then with Chris Bird, who wrote the book, The Sacred Life of Plants. And we discussed at that time the music potential of the plant world that was completely ignored by the top scientists. Well, the whole thing changed around when that book came out. But to cut to the chase, we've been able to work with the insect cultures. We've been able to work with the dolphins, communicate with the dolphins. One of our colleagues, working with the sounds of the whales in the South Pacific, was able to engineer a new pacemaker for the human heart based upon the rhythms of the heart of the whale. So we're all connected with all life forms. Music is the key, is the sacred language that brings sacred sound, sacred geometry, and sacred visualization together. When you use those three together, synergistically, your third eye potential opens up. But you have to have faith to have intention and extension of the third eye. When that takes place, you understand the trinity of eyes. The two natural and the third eye form a triangulation, which then opens up certain areas within the hypothalamus centers of the brain itself, which gives telepathic communication. So I've worked behind the scenes with the astronauts. I worked behind the scenes with Jim De La Tosa, Marcel Vogel, John Stuart Reed, who was one of the great scientists of our time. And of course, we've been able to cover all the bases in archaeology, with the cultures of the world, all showing us that they have used sacred geometry to teach the average person to go into a prayerful position with hands or mudra positions like a triad, a pyramid over the head, over the third eye, or use sacred kivas or sacred sound chambers to energize the vibration. We call it the Pentecostal experience, because without that, there cannot be any authentic contact with the higher worlds. It's all theoretical mathematics, but it's not the real contact, which comes through the voice of vibration.
So we want to keep it first on health and healing, but actually some of these ancient expressions that we've been given in the East and in the West actually can reach into other realities. But yeah, Doctor, you want to say anything that you've been thinking about with all of this?
So I've had several encounters too with these beings, and I've always wondered, like, what was the key to open up the field for those interactions to even happen? And I think you're giving me a lot of insight on that. But going back to the animals, I work at an animal shelter, and I've always been obsessed with just sound and animals. And cats will purr at 157 megahertz, 156 megahertz. We're 67 megahertz on a normal, healthy adult day, I guess. But we're seeing not only do we each have this biofield that, some of it is, some people have a 4-foot, some people have a 20-foot, some people have a inverted, and they really need to siphon off of other people. I've studied about the plants and how they will take from other plants in the root systems or in the actual aura, because maybe that plant can't generate its own energy, but animals will have their own field too. And the cats come and they'll just sit on someone and purr and bring somebody up. The dolphins, I'm glad you mentioned that. We have not been able to measure the field with them. Horses are about 150 feet, but they have yet to measure the biofield of an individual dolphin, because it's so huge that we don't have measurement skills or technology to even measure that far out. And some people think that dolphins are ETs. Like, that's a whole different.
Well, there is the Brotherhood of the Dolphin that Carl Sagan belonged to privately. And you mentioned the cat. Well, the Sphinx of Egypt is the cat that's right there before the Great Pyramid. What does that tell you symbolically? We have the opportunity. We haven't released this on film, but we went underneath the Giza Plateau. That's approximately 24 years ago, with sound engineers, anthropologists, linguists, and we discovered the tomb of Osiris. Osiris in Egyptian mythology was the Lord teacher who brought the sound of music to the human ear. We made this discovery. It's in a book we published called Giza's Industrial Complex. The Egyptians took the finding away from us and made it their finding, but the newer generation of Egyptologists recognized our work was the primary finding of the tomb of Osiris, because we took cameras underground. We filmed everything.
And I have to say, people don't realize, but Osiris supposedly, when he came to the earth, went around the world teaching, and they say he taught through music. So this is just an ancient legend, but, it all is meaningful to us. I just want to bring up one of the other people in this book that I often talk about, and that's Beth Green, and she's at bethgreen.org. And her husband was getting into dementia. And as a kid, she had learned piano. So she had some kind of spiritual insight, go get a piano, and don't do classical only, let it flow. And she was able to bring in, her husband had been tested for levels of dementia, and she was able to bring him out of that dementia. That's why she's on YouTube and other places right now, and I know, Bianca, that's a little bit what you do, be able to awaken the brain, awaken different parts of your body, because when you have the right sound frequencies, you're able to literally transform things. There's even acceptance of something called Novo Cure, which is a company connected with tumor treating fields. And it's sound, if we can say about sound, I'm glad you call it frequency. Sound is always what you think you hear, but sound is not always what you can hear with your ears. We only hear from 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. There's a lot more behind that. And these tumor treating fields, actually, you put these electro frequencies that come out of this on your brain if you have glioblastoma, which is one of the worst cancers you can get. And it stops the generation, the duplication of the cancer. It breaks down literally the mitosis in the cells itself. They don't claim it's a cure because that's a whole nother ballgame, but basically it stops the duplication. That's all done by frequencies and tumor treating fields, or fields of sound vibration. That's exactly, isn't that what you do, Bianca? You kind of introduce certain fields and frequencies.
Yeah, that's actually what this thing is. This has blasted tumors. I can't quite say I've eliminated cancerous tumors, but I have seen one disappear using frequencies and a combination of, changing your health habits, the food that you're putting in, the toxins in your body, etc. And this is the speaker for the Cymo 1000. It was created by Sir Peter Manners, worked with Hans Jenny, and they created like 700 combinations. And that's what's in the machine. And I was able to take that and really incorporate that and put it out there as a digital product. For example, I've got the toothbrush. I've got a bone conduction toothbrush with a frequency for teeth and gums that was in the machine. It is now coming from the toothbrush, coming through the bristles. And another thing, when you mentioned the cat, I actually have, they used to have a purring cat. You squeeze and it would purr. So I have one of those in production because purring speeds up bone regeneration. There's so many benefits to purring. And then just one more comment on the plants. I've got a whole bunch of experiments with plants, specifically with the ZZ plant, the aloe vera, and the I'm forgetting which plant it is, the snake plant, because you can really see right away the difference in what you put into the water. So there was a video that showed people took away water and just was playing the sound of water, and the plants were surviving. So what I did was, because my frequency machine has the sound of minerals, you can actually play the sound of minerals. I took out a couple of the plants. They have no water, no soil. They're sitting on quartz, and they're surviving and thriving off of sound. So I do have sounds playing, throughout in the greenhouse, and then one for the animals. But it's now, all of these things that have been founded so many years ago, from the pyramids and from, the structures that way before our time. And now we're just saying, okay, wow, they're using it for us. It's for us to use. We need to figure out how to utilize it, how to incorporate it, and actually, make it practical. So that's
very well said. That's why we're working together as a team, because the pyramid is, according to Enoch, the Bible in stone. And when we understand the pyramid of Egypt and all the frequencies that monitor all of the circulatory processes, the blood, the lymphatic, the nervous, the matter energy frequencies of our mind-body relationship, we can see it's how it applies to all of the sacred pyramidal temples throughout the planet.
And I just want to say, when you visited Tikal, which is known as the city of sound, and to say that they have been specifically built for sound is not a understatement. You can stand at the ground and just talk like this, even just normal. And someone at the very top of one of the main pyramids in the central complex, the central plaza, can hear what you say. So they absolutely knew about sound vibrations. Yeah, it's very well known. There's also, if you go to Chichén Itzá and you stand and you clap your hands a certain way at the staircase, you hear what's called the bird that's famous.
The chirping bird.
The chirping bird, or the Quetzal bird, connected with Quetzalcoatl. I should say the Quetzal bird. It's connected with Quetzalcoatl. So they actually do it. You go like this, the sound hits up on the stairs, and you're making Quetzalcoatl appear. And that's one of the gods of the Mayans. Amazing phenomena of what you can, just to know how it works. I want to say one other thing, though. There was a Nobel laureate called Luc Montagnier, and he basically got the Nobel Prize for finding HIV and seeing how it works. But later in his life, he used to go to the water conference. He used to do these tests. And he would put DNA that was somewhat broken up in a test tube, and he would put water, nothing but plain, clear water, next to it. And for days, he would put it in about a 7.88 hertz frequency. The two of them were together, not touching each other, but just together. And he could then later take the plain water, just by that frequency being around it, he believed, and get that DNA coding that was in the other test tube. So when you said about plants picking up, he proved it that DNA can be picked up just by the right frequencies.
Yeah, well, they have a new, well, I don't know how new it is, but we've been around with the new technique with what they call neurovisor, where people put on these goggles and they're watching a lot of sacred geometry, lights, colors, shapes over a certain period of time while listening to music. And we're seeing brain scans before and after. And like with the dementia or the memory issues, or just maybe people who are trying to get creative ideas for their business, or maybe they want to write more music or more books, and different pathways and different things are going on within the brain that you can actually see on the scans before and after. The guy who actually created it, he had brain damage and a big portion of his brain from an overdose, and he was able to resuscitate those areas of the brain through the technology of sacred geometry. And there was not just music, but they did use sounds of animals, crickets, birds, which we all know, is what opens up, the leaf and all that. But going back to actual conscious language, you mentioned earlier something about the Aramaic language and that relation to, well, in my case, I'm listening to this book called The Revelations of Aramaic Jesus. And the guy has been studying this language for like 40 years. And I started listening. I was reading the book, but I was so enticed to like hear more, and I was traveling. So I bought it on audio, and he will literally say the words of what this language is. And what we see in our Bible isn't anything like what actual Yeshua or whoever Jesus is. And he talks so much about the biofield or the Shem of what we can transfer. He talks about sound, vibration, the unity of consciousness. And me just listening to his language and going to sleep at night hearing it, I've been waking up feeling different just hearing that language. What do you say about like words and or just
absolutely correct. Everything you said is correct. I'm also an archaeologist and biblical scholar. I spent 5 years with the sacred names of Christ in the Aramaic language. And Desiree published this book called Salvator Mundi, which is Latin for the savior of the planet. And it goes into the 76 names of Jesus in the Aramaic, we translated from the ancient text that St. Luke used. And these were illustrated. Desiree, why don't you show pictures?
Okay, she's showing us her Aramaic Jesus.
Well,
so this is one of the names I found a easy one. It's called Son of David. So basically it has 76 names of Jesus throughout the Bible. And what you're seeing in that type right there is the Aramaic. And then we have the word next to it. In this case, Son of David makes it easy. It's Bre David. So but that's an easy one, but we have more complex ones.
So the book is in Greek, Latin, Hebrew, and Aramaic. And if you should see the pictures,
okay,
this is the most important thing that's often overlooked. Without the geometry of opening the third eye, you're only talking a second-class musical experience. First class is to actually see the picture of the ascended master or the spiritual guide that you have, or one who represents what I call the office of the Christ, those beings that come to anoint and prepare us for different levels of spiritual work, medical, healing work, miracle work for reaching out in new areas of science, and of course, cosmic work for working with the spiritual intelligence when it finally manifests itself on a planetary level. So Desiree and I have worked with the top artists in Europe and throughout the world, illustrating every sacred name of God, the Father, the Divine Mother, the Divine Son in all of our linguistic books, some of which you may be familiar with.
But the Aramaic it was the English of the time of Jesus, but still it comes from a very sacred background of a mixture of really Hebrew at that time and what was going on in the Middle East. So, yes.
So this is from one of our other books called The Overself Awakening, which is now the chakras, the energy points of our body, and then the higher chakras of our higher mind spirit connection. You will see a female form, and then around the bottom of the picture, you will see the sacred areas of the Far East and the Near East, the Western world, of the chakras of the planet that are activated by sacred vibrations through the spirals of the concentric circles around the heart of the divine feminine. Why do I say the divine feminine is the right hemisphere, the female side of the brain that also has to be open with the third eye to make the higher augmentation possible that leads to miracles. This is why I brought with me this afternoon in our discussion pictures, not simple drawings, but actual manifestations of light that has come down to groups of people who have used sacred language as a team. And then when that is activated properly, in some instances, as Desiree has shown in this picture of Egypt, there are geometries that appear, as we see these three mandalas, these three upwards.
Orbs.
Some will call them orbs, but they're more complex. They're actually wheels within wheels, would having actual ancient Hebrew or Egyptian symbols. So
Wow.
I've had a series of remarkable experiences over the years, which fortunately we were able to document. And some of this
These are mostly connected with doing prayer. So we'll do a 5-minute prayer towards the end of the program.
Here I'm speaking about the pyramids of Tulu, Mexico, and singing the names of God in the ancient Aramaic and Hebrew, and suddenly light comes around my body. And my students are shocked. The man takes a picture of his wife and captures this within a few seconds of the light power. You can see this is something for real. This is not made up. This is a real energy field that you open and you step into. It's the miracle of sound that you activate. This is why the early Christians marked the third eye with ash for Ash Wednesday. It's the pineal gland being open in a sacred way of being able to work on north, south, east, west meridians. This was lost knowledge.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say today's Ash Wednesday, but go ahead.
Well, that's remarkable that you say that. We are completing a series of teachings worldwide. We're able to sound this proper language, whether it's in the Tibetan, whether it's in the Sanskrit, whether it's in the Hebrew, the Aramaic, or for that matter, the Greek or the English, wherever we are. Every country, every part of the world is part of this spiritual sound awakening that's taking place right now. And I believe this is why the governments of the world indirectly are preparing people for contact with the higher worlds of the cosmic cultures, as astronaut Edgar Mitchell called them, because they know that sooner or later we're going to make contact through sound. So what better way than all of our work together? The miracles of sound, the pineal gland, the inner vibratory tuning fork of sound, the 7 chakras, the 7 seals that John the Divine speaks of the inner tabernacle of sound, and then the humanity, the Amishadai, the people of light, who are the people of God's plan, I believe, to activate positive change, not negative change, but positive change through music and spiritual teaching that is of the positive.
So we do feel like by using some of these ancient names and allows you to meditate and focus. I mean, people like Zen meditation, which is silent, and you're supposed to be in nothing. But we feel these sound vibrations, not only does it penetrate the body. I just want to say that Cornell Engineering came up with a study that sound, when it's pulsed, and I do believe more technology is becoming pulsed, and of course there's a pulse electromagnetic fields technology, but pulse technology can actually activate the electrons to augment them into a higher electron field, which means not this saying everything we say and do can activate your electrons, but bottom line, sound can penetrate on the subatomic level of our system. And I think we're starting to understand that. And we believe, of course, in the future of vibrational medicine, electromedicine, red light frequencies, that's also frequencies of sound. Even though there's light, that is more of a particular way, and sound is more of a, we'll say, a pressure wave. Light is more of an electromagnetic wave, but basically, ultimately, they do come together in transforming the cellular structure and the mental structure of our bodies. I think it's important to realize that sound does have power for ourselves.
On the musical scale, it's F sharp, A sharp, and C sharp.
Especially with the Great Pyramid.
That's what we found on our work, sound engineering. We did this before John Reed was there. I acknowledge him as
John Stuart Reed, yes.
As one of the great thinkers and musicologists of our generation. I'm really pleased that both of you also recognize his work. So we're continuing this work, which is to activate the world going through this horrendous change so that the world awakens out of negativity into positive work of ascension. This is our work. And we try to illustrate this in our books with music and art.
I know that Bianca wants to add a couple things, but we incorporate red light therapy. And I don't know if you've heard of PEMF, but there are mats that we have in our clinic. And it does just that. It will pulsate the cells to cleanse if they need to detox, and or touch the ATP and like increase the energy within the mitochondria to restore health and healing, and to bring people back to a harmonic parasympathetic type situation, so they're not in that fight or flight, which we never heal in fight or flight. And again, I wasn't necessarily thinking of pulsation as sound, or red light therapy as sound, but that gives me a lot of perspective on, it's just a sound that we're not necessarily hearing, but it doesn't mean that just because our ears don't hear it doesn't mean that it's not, but
we discussed this with Bruce Lipton, and he agreed with us. It's the epikinetic vibration of the
epigenetic
that then influences the epigenetic.
Yeah.
The biofield, then it becomes more active. So what you're saying is correct. We just take it to a higher scientific area of verification.
Well, for those people who want the science, basically sound is usually a pressure wave. But when you pressure it at a certain point and frequency, you can actually then affect the body. That's what the pulse is so interesting, because the pulse itself becomes part of that vibration. You can pulse sound, as we all know. And lights is usually electromagnetic, and certain geometries as well, that you get these sine waves signals. But so you get sine waves as well in sound. So these are interesting vibrational frequencies. And the more we use, we'll say, vibrational frequencies, which is what Bianca's looking at, the more it can penetrate various types of cells. I know Reif looked at it, but he was looking for one sound to fix one thing. And that doesn't seem to be the aspect. It seems that you have to have a multiple frequency to fix various things. And this is really what they're trying to discover. What are those multiple frequencies that can fix various parts of the body, or various organs of the body, or various cells?
So this is nouveau cure, new combinations of sounds on all 7 chakra levels.
Bianca, I know this is partly what you do. Go ahead, give us a little.
It's the power of 5. That's what it is. So right frequencies are usually, so he was able to determine, okay, which one is targeting which one exactly. But then Sir Peter Manners and Hans Jenny took it to a whole other level and watched dancing styrofoam and dancing sand and dancing liquids. There's a 4-hour documentary where he's just watching just the movement. And it's not just different instruments and animal sounds, and it's mantras and just different keynotes. So really, there's so many things I want to touch on, like when you mentioned key, Solomon's key, like I was thinking about Lord of the Rings, it's not an actual key that you put in a hole. It's the key that your vocal is making. You're the key. You just have to hit the right note. So like Lord of the Rings, it's the ringing of a bell. It's not necessarily, that metal thing. But interestingly enough, on the machine, so they're always combinations of 5. And there's 2 knobs on this machine that was made about 50 years ago, okay? Volume and pulse. So you are absolutely on point with that. It takes like the main one, the main volume or the main tone is streamed. And then there's 4 surrounding, supporting, pulsating frequencies that really target, whichever part of the body or ailment. They also have Bach frequencies or minerals, the frequency of iron, the frequency of oxygen. And again, this is all, they've already put this all together. Unfortunately, but fortunately, is the technologies were put into machines that were really hard to get by. You cannot get them, but they are, they're available through your voice. You can sing your way to health. You can create the sounds yourself. This is a frequency device, right? Our vocal cords, the word, it's the power. So really working from, how can we get all this technology and ancient stuff to how can we use it so I feel better? And it's not that complicated. And I want to just touch on that, like the light. So there's the sonoluminescence where you can burst a bubble, in the water, and it produces light. And you burst a bubble. You created light with your voice. And just it seems like those geometry or those sacred spaces are retuning and changing the results somehow so that we can do that. And I'm just curious, so are all the places different notes when are they all very different? Or
well, we're comparing right now Mexico, like the Chichen Itza and the Palenque temples, to the Great Pyramid, King's Chamber in particular. But many of them, as Dr. Hurtak said, has F sharp is one of the frequencies, and other A sharp as well. So there seems to be, they understood the patterns of sound. And just going back into the ancients, I know people often ask about the solfeggio series. So I wanted to just bring that up to explain that back in the time when they did Gregorian chants, speaking of Ash Wednesday, that they used certain frequencies, and there were specific frequencies which now seem to really do put the mind into a kind of cosmic state. I'm just going to, we say do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, and then we say Tito, but supposedly at ancient times they only had the six. Instead of the do, they had the ut, re, mi, fa, sol, la. And I'm just going to give you these numbers. So the ut was 396 hertz. Then the re was 417. The mi was 528, which is a popular sound that even our good friend Leonard Horowitz talks about, is the love vibration and how it ties into other frequencies. We've mentioned some of this in the book. And then fa is 639, sol is 741, and la is 852. Now, some people have added a few others. I want to mention that the 369 ties into Tesla. Tesla said if you understand the numbers 3, 6, and 9, you understand the entire universe. So you can see they do 369 and 639 is one of the numbers in the solfeggio. And then a final one, which is a new one, is reversing that to 963. And if you want to hear of some of these, our good friend in Australia,
by the name of Darren Curtis, has continued this work. The Academy of Future Sciences, they're known as the Sacred Resonance. But we are working with top musicians worldwide. Again, our work has covered all of the sacred sites from China, Japan, Australia, all of the Americas. And we've done what I would call the most complete scientific study. We put this out also through our tape library. So you can go to keysofenoch.org, scroll down to our music offerings. And we've got well over 80 different music offerings from leading artists we work with worldwide to show that the ancients understood that unless we understand our body as the temple of spirit, vibration, we were not able to wake up out of the three-dimensional consciousness, which keeps us on a lower plane of activity. We're not able to ascend to that higher co-creative state that is necessary. In New Testament language, the Christ nature, or in the Eastern traditions, the Buddha enlightenment nature, that is important as we go into the next phase of evolution. So we're at a critical state right now where international media is negative, negative, negative. We got to change that around by being positive, positive, positive. F sharp, A sharp, C sharp, and bring about what I call a global Pentecostal awakening to the greater sound that is in the principal spiritual documents of human history. And we are at that time of major change, and it could happen at any time. We believe, and this supports document I want to show you right now of how the Egyptian guides who were with us began to dance on top of the pyramids when they heard our music. Can you imagine that? Here's an actual picture. You see the, excuse me, the other side of what I'm showing you. See, the Egyptian guides are beginning to dance on top of the pyramid. This is a very rare picture. How is that possible? They hear the music from within the pyramid coming up through the top of the capstone. The top of the capstone was originally a pyramid. We as human beings create that living pyramid that is missing. And when we do that upon the top of all churches, temples, places of worship, we become the temple of understanding. We bring people together into harmony, without which the world goes into a backward de-evolution.
And I just want to say, if people want to hear certain of those frequencies, they can go to our associate at Ascension Sounds on YouTube. And they have, every week he puts out a new frequency so you can see what resonates with you. But I know, Bianca, you do some of that as well. You give these frequencies to relate to different parts of your health and your work.
I do. I think I'm right now. I focus more on. I mean, I do have it available. It's like a membership where I not only do they have the sounds and they can create playlists, but I also have videos. And right now I'm launching what I'm calling sources and courses. So I'm putting source library because it's my sounds that I'm listening to are just for my things, right? There's 1,000 other people's issues that they need to listen to. And so what I'm allowed to do is our community, we're helping each other. So we've got a membership program that these guys know that this works and they're letting other people know. So I'm expanding on that. But the whole basis of it is knowledge needs to lead to action. Like, you can't just know a bunch of stuff. You've got to actually do something about it. So really big on letting people know, like, how does a chakra work? Why is it that you don't want to wear black all the time or gray, or what wearing stripes does to your aura? So just all these different things, knowledge and sharing that along with the frequencies, because you've got to make it, it's got to make sense to people. But there's the culture nowadays is it's like, it's got to work fast. If I don't get it right away, I'm not listening to you. So there's a major change, a shift in how we, I don't want to say feed the public, but how do we let them, experience what we know? So I feel I'm very successful with that, with the way I share. And I just, all of this, that everyone's coming together from all these different backgrounds, and we're all talking the same thing. We're all saying it's the same thing. It's the sound of Om. It's the one sound, and it's
well, we're talking about the same thing, but it's also the dance that you speak of. It's the dance and the ascension process. So it's more than just talking. Talking has to go into action. And Mother Earth is crying. Mother Earth wants us to mobilize all of the chakras of harmony, not just one, not one part of healing. No, the whole system has to come alive. And when we align through what I call synergistic symphonic work, we have a tonal resonance that we can reach out, a touch for health. We can heal without having any official background in the subject. It comes through us where we can do the healing appropriate, because we feel, we sensitize, and we exchange the proper modalities of ascension work. So I congratulate both of you.
And we usually like to close with just some positive thoughts, as well as maybe a few of the mantras we do. And again, we'll take something from the East and the West. The first one will focus on healing the planet with some energies of peace, like Om Shanti, which is, of course, from the East, Shanti being peace. But I'll let Dr. Hurtak lead us, if that's okay, in a short meditation.
And then we'll go to one of the Hebrew expressions from the scriptures,
and it is
the Near East, because we're really dealing with situations, hotspots in the world that have lost the sounds of compassion, love, of what we'll call the biblical prophets, the Christ figure, the avatars who have brought in their life the higher orchestration of divine love in human form. So first of all, with the Eastern traditions, we send lights to Mount Kailash. We send it to the Chinese people in the mainland. In Taiwan, we send it to all of the sacred centers. In Japan, all of the areas of the Southeast with the vibration.
And so let us visualize these energies of light penetrating into the globe. Let us visualize the infinite splendor of love, also radiating throughout the planet. And so let us put the words together of the Om, the universal sound, and that of the Shanti, the Eastern word or the Sanskrit word for peace, and let us send our own energies of peace, love, and joy to the hot spots of the world, or even to your families, or anyone that needs this energy, as we say together.
7 times for the 7 seals of the 7 chakras. Om Shanti 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 Om. 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 Shanti we use 3 times, the triple power. We visualize the work of the Holy Spirit that represents the 3rd part of the Trinity vibration. With the Shanti, or Shekinah in the ancient Hebrew, on Ash Wednesday, we recognize the opening of our 3rd eye, the pineal gland, to reach around the world, to heal, as we become peacemakers, as we become co-creators, as we become emissaries of light. We also look now to the biblical expressions used by the high priest.
But let us also feel then, as we are in the state of meditation, how our body itself is also being helped by the higher frequencies, by the higher vibrations, so that our cells, which are really going through trauma sometimes, depending on what we're doing, where we are, how we're moving, how we're thinking, can be healed, can be changed, can be transformed. And let that energy come forth to penetrate our physical body. But let us also, as we were mentioning, see the pillar of light coming and penetrating through our 3rd eye. And the 3rd eye, as we're told in the East, aligns to the pineal gland, which if you dissect it, you find actually rods and cones, like it would be an eye, even though it's a gland. And we believe it receives higher levels of information.
And so we send light to the Middle East. We send light to all of the sacred areas of Egypt along the Nile. The 7 temples represent the 7 chakras in stone. We send light to the holy mountains of Hermon in Syria, Israel. We send light to the peoples of Palestine, Israel, for brotherhood and sisterhood, long overdue. We send light to the Most High through the vibration of the Lord is here. And I'm going to intone this 7 times in the ancient Hebrew Aramaic. We visualize the light surrounding our mind. We visualize a capstone of golden light over our head. We visualize the vibration of the 3rd eye being activated on Ash Wednesday. Adonai Shema, Adonai Shema, Adonai Shema, Adonai Shema, Adonai Shema, Adonai Shema, Adonai Shema. With these vibrations that brought golden light into the center of the Great Pyramid, bring golden light into the heart of brothers and sisters throughout the world. And may we graduate on this important day, in this important celebration, in this important meditation, into the brotherhood and sisterhood of light, that we are the temple of the Holy Spirit being poured out to bring people of goodwill together, to bring people of ascension work together, to bring a new leadership from the higher worlds together, that Mother Earth shall ascend and all of us shall be one in the house of many mansions. As we say the 4 great amens for brothers and sisters in the east, the west, the north, and the south, in unity and purpose, we say the 4 great amens. Amen, 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 and amen. And so we thank all of you for giving us the opportunity to share.
Right. If you want to know more about our work, we're at keysofenoch.org. And you can also find some of our sounds on Spotify, as well as Apple iTunes. And we're going to add more and more to that. And YouTube, of course. Yes.
Sacred names, sacred codes is one important one. The other is the sacred ciphers of the Divine Mother. We have also the Mighty Voice Cultural Choir from South Africa. We have also worked on the opening of the Great Pyramid, the sounds that are so important to use in the Hebrew Aramaic, as you heard us earlier in our work together with all of you. We want to thank you very much,
Yeah,
both
thanks,
of you.
Bianca.
You
Thanks,
are
Doctor.
tremendous teachers, both of you, in the work of miracles. This is an age of miracles and miracle workers. Let us unite in this great endeavor. This beautiful book and the books that we represent, of course, you can see on the internet site of Keys of Enoch.org. And may peace be with us.
Thank you so much. And thank you guys, Bianca. We know where to find you. I'm going to put everybody's links and everything here too. But do you want to say anything before we go, Bianca?
I just want to say that I'm now selling these fancy hats on Amazon. I'm enjoying myself. I've got so many things that I want to talk about, but we'll have to save that for next time. And I'm just so grateful. So grateful.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, the hat represents the eighth and ninth chakra.
Yeah.
I wear a hat also.
He doesn't.
It basically helps the two hemispheres of your brain to be centered and be balanced. So hats were used by all of the great musicians and architects and artists of ancient times. We've lost that practice, but when I had the experience of light coming into my body, I was told to wear a hat because that balances the sacred energy.
Wow.
So bless you.
Although there are different hats. I don't know if I wear yours outside.
Yeah.
Well, I am just, I'm touched. I literally felt in my heart when you guys were doing your meditation, and I did envision it. And I think that's very much required. I invite everybody who's watching to replay this and to tap in and to participate and doing it again, whether it's with the video and or doing it on your own, because what they mentioned to and alluded to is faith without action or faith without works is dead. So faith with works is, guess what? Life. And we can all use a lot more life all the way down to ourselves and our homes and this home, this temple, but also our homes that we live in, our businesses, our relationships, and what have you. So thank you guys so much for joining us. I hope to have you back again. Maybe we could do this again. And thank you, Bianca. Of course, I'm going to have you back again. And I look forward to seeing all of you guys again. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next time. All right.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Blessings.